There are many reasons that you might be taking a course over the summer, either to graduate early, to make space for a double major, for personal enrichment, to boost your student resume, or maybe because that's literally the only time that a particular course is offered. Now, most summer courses are intensive and intense by nature because you have a lot of curriculum to cover in a short amount of time. Now, with less time to cover the same amount of material, you'll need to approach things a little differently than you do during the regular academic school year. In this video, I'm teaching 8 strategies for taking summer courses. For the most part, the strategies will be helpful if you're in college or graduate school. But some of the strategies will actually work too if you're taking summer courses if you're in high school. So I encourage you to just stick around, try out a few that I advise, and then see which ones work. Now, one last thing, the strategies in this video will be helpful if you're taking courses in person or online. You might just have to make some minor adjustments here and there. Hi, I'm Katie Azevedo from SchoolHabits.com. I'm a private executive function coach and I teach students and professionals strategies to learn and work better. Please give this video a like, hit subscribe, and leave a comment or a question, love those, and then you can find me over on Instagram. All right, so tip number 1, identify and use a study location near your class location. Now, intensive summer courses tend to be hours long, if not like a full day long. So that doesn't leave a lot of time for you to get your readings and your assignments done outside of class before the next class meets again. Especially if you're taking like a 2-week long summer intensive course, you're gonna have full days of class every day. And that doesn't leave a lot of time to get your work done in between. So to be more efficient with your time outside of class, it can be helpful to identify a study spot that's near where you're showing up for your class. Now, if you're taking an online class and you don't like meet somewhere, then hold on, I get to you in just a second. Now, the benefit of having a study location where you do your work and your readings near your class location is that you can take advantage of the tried and true productivity strategy called batching. Batching is when you group similar activities together and you complete them in the same block of time. Now, a real life example of this is that doesn't have anything to do with school, but I just want you to understand the concept of batching is, let's say you had 4 errands to do, okay? You would probably get in your car, hit all 4 places, and then come home. That's batching. You batched all your errands in one block of time. You don't go out and do one errand, come home, go back, do another errand, come home. You don't do that back and forth 4 times, right? So you can use this batching strategy for schoolwork as well. So let's look at an example. Let's say that you have a 2-week intensive summer course that runs Monday through Friday from 8 in the morning to 3 in the afternoon. If you find a good study spot that is 10 minutes away or less from where you're showing up to class, then you can go there directly after your class and do your homework and your assignments until, until 4:30. So now you're batching your class time and your homework time. You're getting everything done from 8 to 4:30, and you don't have to worry about the schoolwork and the readings and the work for any longer than 4:30. Now, part of what makes this strategy so effective is that, yes, you're gonna be exhausted going from 8 to 4:30, okay? I know that. But the information will be fresh in your mind if you do your work right after class ends, which makes you more efficient when you complete your homework assignment because, again, the information is right there because you just spent a whole bunch of hours learning it. Additionally, you won't be sidetracked by a long commute home, by after-class events that pop up, or other evening things that could distract you if you went home straight after class. Now, if your summer intensive course is being held on a campus at a school, then just use the campus library as your study location. So go to the room that your class is in. When you're done, head straight to the library. That's a really great way that you don't have to have like a commute to a new spot. All right, so what if you're taking an online summer course? I told you I had you covered. And obviously, you're gonna tweak this tip a little bit. Here's what I suggest. Log into your class somewhere other than where you live. Pick a library, a cafe, the home office of someone you know who's cool enough to let you use their space for the day. And then stay there to complete your work when class is over. Tip number 2, stay organized from day 1. Summer courses tend to come with a lot of materials, both paper and digital. And the more materials you get, the more likely and easy it is for you to become disorganized. And disorganization can wreck us in more ways than we know. So here are some tips for organizing course papers. Use one folder and one notebook for each class. The folder should have internal pockets. I don't suggest using a folder without pockets. If your teacher hands out a ton of hole-punched materials, consider using a 3-ring binder and putting the notebook inside the binder. Of course, you would get a notebook with 3 holes in it. Put papers away in your folder or binder immediately after using them. Don't cram them in your bag on the way out the door. And lastly, date and title all class notes that you write. And here are some tips for organizing your digital materials. Create a Google Drive folder specifically for your summer course. Name the folder, the name of the course, and the year. So example, Shakespeare Summer 2023. Next, name every document clearly. I suggest using a naming convention that includes the name of the class and a description of the assignment. So for example, Shakespeare King Lear final essay. And lastly, rename all class downloads. That would be like PDFs and course slides to match your naming convention. Sometimes when we download PDFs or other files, they have a funky name with weird symbols, or they have the name your professor likes, but that's confusing to you. I suggest you rename these files. Now, if you want more organization tips, I have a blog post with 100, yes, 100 organization tips, and I will leave that in the description box. Tip 3, don't ignore the syllabus. Now, because summer courses condense a lot of material into a short amount of time, it's very unlikely that your professor is going to stray from the syllabus at all. And you want to use this to your advantage. You want to look at the syllabus, get a sense of what assignments are due, when, and then make a plan for when you'll do them. Now, it might be that your professor doesn't assign daily homework assignments, but instead there's 1 or 2 large long-term assignments that are due on the last day of class. Now, if that's the case, it's on you to figure out a little bit of time each day when you can work on these assignments. Now, another way to use the syllabus is to use it to make a plan for busy days. Now, there might be a day or two when you're enrolled in your class where you know you have a ton going on, like a ton of non-school related things going on. Maybe like job, maybe a family plan, something that's already existed on the calendar. Or maybe there's even a day that you can't even attend class. In these scenarios, you would use your syllabus to look ahead, see what's due, and make sure you complete them beforehand so that you can still submit them on time. If you're going to be absent from class, don't assume that you automatically get an extra day to complete the work. Especially if you're in college or graduate school, it doesn't work that way. Things are due when they're due. Tip number 4, build your study materials from day 1. Again, intensive summer courses cover a lot of material in a short amount of time. This means that you're not going to have a lot of time to study for a final exam in between your last day of class and the day of the exam. Oftentimes the exam is on the last day of class. So here's the tip. From the very first day that you start learning content, probably on the first day of class, I want you to start building your study materials and add to them every day that you're learning content. For example, if you like to study with flashcards, you would slowly start building your flashcard set as you're learning new content throughout the class. So by the time the last class hits, you have a full deck of cards and you can hit the ground running when it's time to study them for the final test. Tip 5, organize your time. I want you to think of your time on 2 different levels. So there's class time, which is the amount of hours that you spend sitting in class, plus the commute time on either end of that, of course, if you're not taking an online class. And then there's study time, which is the amount of time you spend outside of class on reading, completing your assignments, and studying. Don't underestimate the amount of time that reading and studying takes for summer classes. Tip number 6, show up on time. Showing up on time for summer courses is literally the least you can do. You want to consider your commute time, traffic patterns, and then get there. Showing up on time is important for online classes too. If your online class starts at 10 a.m., you shouldn't show up 1 second later than 10 a.m. Tip 7, think carefully about your study space. Now, if you're taking summer classes as a college student and you typically live in the dorms during the school year, then you might be taking summer courses in July and August when you're home from school and you're back at home. If that's the case, you gotta set up a spot in your room or in your house that's dedicated fully to studying. I also suggest setting up your workspace if possible according to your learning preference. In the description box, I have links to 3 different resources. Tips for setting up your study space as an auditory learner, as a kinesthetic learner, and as a visual learner, okay? So if you'd find that helpful, then those are in the description box. Now you might be thinking that this tip contradicts the earlier tip I gave, which is about finding a study location like near where your class location is. Use both, interchange them. My goal here is to give you like a whole bunch of strategies and for you to pick and choose what works best for you. If you can't always go to a cafe or the campus library right after class and you have to come home for some reason, then you're gonna need to have a dedicated study location at home that works for you. Okay, tip 8, this is the last tip. I want you to read first, review later. Let me explain. Summer courses are notorious for abundant readings because there's only so much class time that the professor or teacher can instruct. So a lot of the content comes from what you are going to be reading at home. Now this tip ties into tip 5, which is to organize your time, because it's important to consider how much time it's going to take outside of class to read and complete your assignments. So a good strategy is to do your class readings and assignments as soon after the class as you possibly can. And then close to the next class the next time that you meet, you review those readings or your notes on them. Now, of course, this strategy works best for classes that don't meet every single day. Because if you're meeting every single day, then you're not even gonna review, because you don't need to review because you just like had the class the previous day. But if your class is meeting like once or twice a week, after class, go to a study location that's near your class, do your assignments and your reading, and then maybe like the day before your next class or the morning before your next class, review your notes and review the readings. Okay, so let's review the 8 tips really quickly. Number 1, identify and use a study location near your class location. This lets you take advantage of the productivity strategy called batching. Number 2, stay organized from day 1. Number 3, don't ignore the syllabus. Number 4, build your study materials from day 1. Number 5, organize your time. Number 6, show up on time. Number 7, think carefully about your study space. And number 8, read first, review later. I hope these tips are helpful. If so, don't forget to hit like, hit subscribe, leave me a comment or a question. And as always, thank you so much for watching.